10864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Final day in full pads for the Ducks this morning on the outdoor practice fields at the Hatfield Dowland Complex. Now we're here in the Casanova Center, and if you're joining us live in the 1 o'clock hour in the Country Financial Studio, we just wrapped up talking with a number of Oregon defensive student athletes, including Kayvon Thibodeau. Those interviews coming your way today, tomorrow, and Friday. Tonight on the Oregon Football Coaches Show, Tim DeRuyter. That's right, the Oregon Football Coaches Show coming up tonight, 7 o'clock across the Oregon Sports Network. You can watch the show live on the Go Ducks YouTube and on the Oregon Football Twitter and Facebook, and of course listen via all of the Oregon Sports Network ways that we make that available. GoDucks.com/OSN for more info on where you can tune in. Today, Mario Crisotbal met with the media, some updates on some position battles. We have that for you here to kick things off. Also, Tim DeRuyter will be the guest tonight. We're going to hear from Tim DeRuyter a bit as he talked with the media, talking about the defense as well. Also, Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. Looking forward to catching up with him. That's pretty much it. Busy day. Let's hear from Mario Crisotbal getting ready for that 11 a.m. kickoff on Pac-12 Network as the Ducks face Fresno State on Saturday.
All right, guys. Good afternoon. Appreciate you being here. Wrapping up our last padded practice and finishing up with 2-minute drill before we get to more of the mental stuff and a little bit of the less contact practice, the less physical practices, where we need to be. The bottom line is, we've practiced hard. We've made a lot of progress. We're still not done. We have several things we still got to clean up as we prepare for a game, and that's normal. So, that being said, questions.
Coach, do you have any update on the position battles you mentioned? We're still kind of up in the air this week.
Yeah, I'd say we'll close. I wish we could do this press conference on a Thursday after we watch film, because that certainly, it helps you and you want to be fair to the guys. But it's been, quite honestly, the kicking competition has been real, because Cattleman wins it at the end of last year. In the springtime he wins it, but Cam comes back and I believe he hit 37 of 40 in camp. So if you're going to make competition real, you got to make it real, and you got to let it play itself out. So that's what we're working with today. Cattleman hit one at the end of today for 2 minutes. So it's been going back and forth. The corner spot, really pleased with the way those guys are coming around. They're just doing a really good job. So I'm glad they're making it difficult, because that means that they're competing well, and we have confidence in those guys to do a good job. I know there's some stuff up front as well that we're mixing and matching at linebacker as well. Some guys nicked up and playing through. So all in all, just a very productive camp, a really good game week of practice. We still got a lot of stuff to do. They're an excellent football team, and we got to be prepared.
Do you envision playing multiple quarterbacks behind Anthony Brown this season? Like just two guys maybe get in at different times of the year?
Haven't gone that route. Would like to settle on who's going to go in right after.
You say that you're, where you want to be heading into this game against Fresno State. What does that entail for you from what you're seeing from your team?
Yeah, we're practicing hard. We're executing at a fairly high level, and need to touch up some things, need to clean up some things. But the effort is there, the attention to detail is there, the physicality is improving. I don't know if we'll ever reach the point where we're satisfied with that, but certainly we see progress. And we see a hunger in our approach, and that's what you want when you're playing. That's what you want when you're preparing for a game against an opponent that has some really, really good players. And again, we haven't played in front of our fans in a long, long time. I think they've done a good job cutting out the outside noise, and we judge that by the way they pay attention in meetings, by the way we carry out and execute in practice. So we expect nothing but our very best.
With that said, is there still an excitement and an anticipation building for a game that's coming in 3 days?
Oh, I would say you know that. You know, I just I don't talk about emotion much because that's just not part of the process. You know, my job is the opposite, to make sure that the focus is on passion for the game, you know, and harnessing all those feelings and making sure that, you know, we're directing them and placing our guys in position to be successful and make plays by focusing on what they have to, not let them get caught up in the other stuff. But yeah, of course they'll feel it. I mean, when they walk out and they see people for the first time, when they're wearing a game day uniform, you know, when they're seeing an opponent on the other sideline, yeah, it's real. And the only way to be successful on that day is to make sure you're successful during the week. So our focus is always on that.
From Myriad to head coach, the penalties and particularly the pre-snap penalties have gone down. It feels like almost every year. How has that gone through camp, and do you feel like this team's in a good spot going in for eliminating pre-snap penalties?
Well, we have to be. You know, certainly a point of emphasis. We've had up and down days. You know, when you install new stuff, anything that creates anxiety creates penalties. You know, and I think early during install, you saw that a little bit more, a lot more than as of late. We've certainly done a much better job, and we're still improving. You know, we have officials every day at practice that helps us a bunch. So, but also, you know, we're not scaling back anything. We're throwing the kitchen sink at our guys all the way through, you know, up until even tonight in our meetings. We'll finish up our install and touching up our packages before we polish them off and cut some things out. And we feel good about the penalty part of it.
For myriad reasons last season, the offense never quite established an identity. Either receivers were in and out, CJ was out a lot. What do you feel like this offense's identity is when you're as well stocked as you are now?
Oh, I feel you got to show it. You know, I refuse to get up here and talk about it. I know we want to be. I know we want to establish ourselves as. We got to come out and show it on Saturday. That way we could talk about it better in a real light. I think anything else is just hype and nonsense. You know, got to go out and do it.
We haven't had this conversation about a year because there was no red shirt a year ago. But when do you start talking to your guys about maybe playing with 4 or less and using a red shirt year? Is that a conversation that's happened with some of them?
Well, it's so it's so fluid, right? Because of injuries, because of COVID possibilities and the issues that come with that as well. So you never know. I mean, some of these games that they can play or cannot play in could be staggered to the point where it's just almost like a running gauge as to how you're going to use it and when you're going to use it. We do have a developmental scrimmage. When I say scrimmage, we stay up, we don't tackle. We have one every single Friday. We go good on good every single day, so we continue developing our guys. And traditionally, or at least for the past 3 years, I'd say anywhere from 6 to 10 players have ended up moving up, where they're either helping on special teams or offense and defense. And I think right now that's probably more important than ever. You know, almost like the developmental squad in the NFL, where you can have guys just come right on up, plug and play. So I think you just have to have an open mind on how you do it and be very strategic and prepare for the worst and go from there.
Coach, Fresno State does a great job of putting pressure on quarterbacks. What's going to be the key to keeping Anthony Brown clean on Saturday?
Well, like you said, they do a great job, and they have really good players, but they have a really good scheme. They disguise their pressures really well, but they do it with 4-man pressure also. They're athletic enough where they don't have to tip off what they're going to do with their alignments. Typically, defensive ends, edge guys that have a tough time long sticking, getting in the B gap or whatnot, they tend to cheat, change up their stance. These guys are athletic enough where it all looks the same, and all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with a T, all of a sudden you're hit with a dig. It's very different. And then the way they run their stunts in games are very well coached. You know, their get off looks like exactly like they would when they're just rushing their lanes as they would be. And all of a sudden there's a foot in the ground, there's a collision, boom, T-E-E-T, 3-man game, linebacker plug. They disguise it well too. You know, they're at 3.5 to 4 yards, but they could be coming, or they could just be playing, you know, what they do from a sound defensive standpoint. That's why they present challenges not only from a personnel standpoint, but the fact that they're disciplined in the way that they line up and what they activate from there, whether it be a pressure or line center movement.
Coach, your total roster is represented by 24 different states in the United States, only second to Stanford. What does that tell you about the program? Is that a goal, a specific goal you had, or just shows how successful you've been?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a great stat. I think it's a reflection of maybe what the world should be, people coming from all over, right, with a common vision and a purpose and working together. It's pretty neat. you know, it's pretty neat that you could have alphas coming from all different parts and then come together and work with each other, you know, maybe bump heads a little bit at first, but continuing to work through and building relationships to get everything going in a certain direction. So I think it's a tremendous advantage being in Oregon, being a national brand. We can do that. We're very fortunate. We certainly don't take it for granted. And it's important to note that for it to work, some come from really far away, that when they get here, it has to feel real, you know? The home and being a second home and having people that have your back and are going to do right by you has to be real, because if not, it doesn't work. So certainly we're proud of all of our people here. You know, we all work as one. Very fortunate to have the people we have here.
That four designation you got between Drew and Justin at that linebacker position, is that something that's more rotational, or is that something you got to figure out or want to figure out by the time Thursday hits?
Oh, you know, some guys get nicked up during camp, goes back and forth. You know, those guys have played really good football. You got to play multiple players, right? It's going to be a long season. Certainly the way offenses do their thing nowadays, they're snapping the ball 80, sometimes 90 times a game. You got to get guys in there. So those guys are ready to play football. They played really well.
They're both healthy and full?
They're both healthy.
You've made a name for yourself in part because of a relentless work ethic. What do you like about the game planning process and, you know, the challenges that come with planning for different opponents?
Oh, I love camp. I love preparation. I love anything that revolves around planning and discipline, regimentation, hard work. I love the opportunity to be able to, if given a certain amount of hours during the day, that, you know, to have a group of dedicated men and women that are willing to outwork whatever it is we're going to go against, or at least, you know, give our best effort always to outwork everybody. So, but I don't judge anybody else. I'm sure other people are working really hard. I just, you know, like I said, I'm kind of boring. I don't have many things that I like besides, you know, what we do for a living as a vocation. So just very fortunate to do it, and just all the way in all the time.
A couple of guys whose families just could have been impacted this week, Mario, by the hurricane. Just Devin Lewis, Trey, how are, because especially for folks who could have been planning to come out here, how is everybody?
Yeah, some guys have moved. You know, some families have had to move, and then we'll have to, you know, like Devin will be joining us in a little bit. They had to move a little bit, then he's going to have to go back, grab his stuff, and come on over. So certainly thoughts and prayers and with everybody and checking on those guys. You know, it's tough stuff, but it's real, you know, as we've seen before. So always making sure that our guys are okay.
Yeah, that's a tough thing going on out there across the country, thinking about him. And Coach Cristobal, certainly he's got a lot of people looking up to him and in his extended family with this team, and that's definitely what he's been thinking about for sure. Rob Moseley's going to join us coming up. A quick update, though, for those of you who usually listen to the Oregon Sports Network broadcasts on TuneIn. TuneIn has made the decision that, similar to what TuneIn does with professional sports, college sport broadcasts are now going to go behind their paywall, if you will, through their premium plan. Don't worry, you can download the Varsity Network, which is a new app that Oregon Sports Network broadcasts will be on, and through the GoDucks Game Day app, which is where many of you are managing your tickets now. We've got live audio there, and through a web browser interface, you can go to goducks.com/live audio. But just want everybody to be aware that TuneIn, if you don't have a TuneIn premium account, you won't be able to listen to the Oregon Sports Network broadcasts here moving forward. They've made that decision, and so wanted you to know about it. Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com, going to join us. Also, Tim DeRuyter. He's going to be on the Coach's Show tonight, and he talked with the media about where the Duck defense is at, some position battles that Coach Cristobal just alluded to. All that's coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. A man that does many things, wears a lot of different hats, and is a true gentleman. Robert J. Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. How are you, buddy?
Whoever was sitting in this chair before me wears a bigger hat than I. They had a...
Oh, actually, that's actually because I cleaned the headset, so I stretch it out and clean it.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, just in case.
It's like Joe
if you want
or something.
well, if you want a different one, so I got. Let's see, we've got that one's a little smaller.
Yeah.
We've got another headset right here.
I'm good now.
Oh, okay. You sure?
Yeah, those look like the special models for Jerry and Jorgie.
They actually are.
They're
Jerry
like
and Jorgie's.
the Cadillac models.
Well,
I don't want to mess with those.
I mean, don't tell them this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. You're wearing the same Cadillac model they are, but those actually are Jerry and Jorgie's headsets.
Do
for the
not
coaches
tell
show.
them that. Do not tell them that.
They're probably watching and listening right now.
I got the budget one, the classy stuff we save for them because they're classy guys.
Can I actually, now that you got me going on this, can I actually just tell you, like, no, this is the budget model.
Oh yeah.
The budget model is straight out of 1995.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have a windsock that doesn't have a hole in it anymore.
Oh wow, yeah.
And look, it just like fell apart.
Well, now I feel honored that I don't get that one.
Well, I mean, Rob, you're on the show every week, man. We try to take care of you.
Appreciate you.
You know, do you need Diet Mountain Dew today?
I might have had too much caffeine at this point.
So you're like feeling it. I mean, it's game week for you, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to Seattle to see Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty.
Woo!
They play tomorrow night in Seattle, and we're leaving tonight.
Oh boy.
And I'm trying to just get a bunch of things. Like I did Hood to Coast last week.
Mm-hmm. Hey, wait, real quick.
Just to make this all about myself.
But how'd you do?
We did not win.
But was there ever an expectation you would win?
There was from some people in my office who like to set the bar too high for me so that I fail.
Boy, that's cruel.
Again, not
Todd
to make it all about
Miles.
me, but I had to. Yeah, Todd Miles. We're on the same page. I had Hood to Coast last week, so I was gone like Thursday night to Sunday.
Yep.
And now this. Like I probably could have afforded to do one or the other.
Oh, sure.
In terms of work-life balance. But doing both is a little ambitious.
Well, but isn't going to see Sabrina? You could justify that as work.
When we were out in New York to see her over the summer, I covered those games, quote unquote. Like I was working those games. This is just go up and enjoy rooting for her and enjoy it kind of as a fan.
See, I still say you could justify that as work.
Yeah.
I'm on your side on that.
Do me a favor.
Okay.
Ask me about how it went next week on the show.
Okay.
And then it was like work.
You know what?
I needed to be prepared to talk about it with you next week.
Show outlines.
Right.
Week of 9/6.
Yeah.
Wednesday 9/8.
Yeah.
Under Rob Moseley, bullet points. Sabrina trip.
Perfect.
Now it's work.
The listeners are loving this.
That's work. So but it is officially game week. I mean, so Rob, everyone, the reason that we asked is Rob walked in. He was just in a meeting, walked in, just frantically put the headset on and was like, "Let's go." So whatever you need, buddy. You need Diet Mountain Dew. We're here for you.
Good. Let's talk football.
So you ready for some football at Autzen?
Yeah, really ready. I don't think, you know what? The honest answer to that question is I don't think any of us really know how, like for as much as we're like preparing ourselves for how cool it's going to be, I don't think any of us are ready for like how incredible that's going to be. Like,
I don't know what to expect.
When the team runs out, the opening kickoff, first, if the defense forces a turnover, first time points get put on the board. Those are going to be some emotional experiences, man. I think there's going to be some tears shed in Autzen Stadium on Saturday. And, hopefully I'm not the only one. But if I am, that's okay.
I think that the first time I hear that horn go off, it's going to be like, whoa.
Right.
because it's just, I mean, I never thought that I would see an empty Austin Stadium with a real game going on.
Right.
We saw that last year. It's just going to be way different. And, hey, another reminder for everybody, GoDucks.com, read through all of the different game day policies with vaccination, proof of a negative test.
Mobile ticketing.
Mobile ticketing is really important. Wearing a mask throughout Austin Stadium. The parking lot's going to open 4 hours before kickoff. That's 7 a.m. 9 a.m. is when gates will open. 11 a.m., actually officially 11:01 a.m. is when the game will kick off. It's on Pac-12 Network. We'll have the radio broadcast starting at 9 a.m. We'll have updates on all the different things that are going on. And look, have some patience. So we know that it's going to be different. It's going to be different for us. I mean, just even you and I getting into the stadium is a whole different deal this time around. And so just everybody have some patience. I think that's going to be important.
Yeah, all of us on this side of the thing are going to do our best to try to make it the most fan-friendly experience as we can.
Yeah.
But it is going to be different, and it's we can all sort of decide that whatever happens, it's going to be a positive experience. We can all sort of gird ourselves with that mindset, whatever hurdles are presented for us, we're going to keep a smile on our faces, and we're going to just appreciate the fact that we're back in the stadium watching the Ducks, and even if it's a little different, we're willing to accept a few different things in order to make that happen.
And please, everybody, smile with your eyes.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes.
Very important. Bill asking a good question as we take a look at the organizational chart. We haven't talked with you since we kind of got that breakdown on Monday, went through it. Good question. He's saying, hey, the difference between an or and a slash. My answer to that is C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye are both starters. I mean, they're going to get utilized that way. But where you got a position battle going on, like say at boundary cornerback or say at one of the tight end positions, that's truly still a battle of who's going to get the most playing time that we may not know until later on in the season, really.
Yeah, I think there's a couple spots like you said, the running back spots. Mario Crisotbal just talked about Drew Mathis and Justin Flo at linebacker. Presumably both those guys will play, just because you like to have a rotation there at a position like that. But yeah, at a corner spot, you probably want a guy that plays at least the first few series, and then you kind of see how he held up. You see how the game's going. So yeah, that's a tricky little nuance in terms of the different designations there. Ultimately, we'll find out what those mean come Saturday. It'll be educational for all of us in terms of, when the coaches make those designations, the actions will speak louder than words in terms of what that means to them and who actually sees the field and what roles everybody's playing. And I think that we're going to see a lot of guys, though. I mean, I just think because of the depth of this team, a lot of guys will play on special teams that might not be, starters offensively, defensively. A lot of those young guys will be in the mix there. It's going to be fun.
I think that one thing that I'll be looking for too is, the competition we know is still going to be going on because of the depth, like you talked about. I think that's a good thing. One of the things that I'm going to look for is just how often I should say they're substituting, particularly on defense. Because that's where you want to see those sorts of substitutions. In a good way. I'm just fascinated by how often Tim DeRuyter utilizes all the different pieces. And Kayvon Thibodeau just said today, you'll hear it coming up later on in the show, that, look, the ability to play free in this defense is what makes it so much fun for him to play in it. If everybody's playing that way, then usually that means that your defense is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and, an offense can kind of dictate, how many guys you're using by how fast they play. But, yeah, is it 16, 17, 18 guys that are kind of regulars that way? I'm sure there's probably some people thinking, hey, KT can play a little freer than some other people with just how naturally, freakishly gifted he is. He's pretty good, as we saw today with the pretty timely turnover late in practice. He can do some things other guys can't, even if they want to. And again, the offense can kind of dictate that. But yeah, what do regular rotations look like? Offensively, what kind of different formational things is Joe Moorhead going to do that, and how is that going to impact personnel in terms of number of receivers you might have on the field, number of tight ends you might have on the field, things like that. There's just so much that gets revealed. Even guys like us that are watching practice, there's things we're going to see Saturday, both, out of kind of ignorance, with all due respect, that sometimes we don't know what we're watching
100%.
From a football perspective, but then just because something was worked on a ton 2 weeks ago and then it gets pulled out, there's going to be things we see Saturday that we're like, oh, I definitely didn't expect to see that, or I didn't know that was coming. So it's so revealing to all of us in so many different ways.
No doubt about it. He's Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. Question about Sean Dollars. He is still a little bit banged up, but Coach Crisotbal said, hey, probably mid-season. But the good news in the running back room is it's a lot deeper than it was, particularly in the spring. But even last year, there's a lot more depth there. I'm curious to see how many of those guys we see.
Yeah, I think we again talking about guys who can be a factor on special teams. Like I don't know how many reps offensively Seven McGee or Byron Cardwell is going to get, but I fully expect to see both those guys playing Saturday, at least in special teams roles. Because they look, physically they came in ready, and clearly they're sharp enough to pick up some different roles and earn some different jobs in special teams. And Trey Benson, just the closer he gets to health, just the more and more you see just how much trouble he's going to be, because he's just so big and still moves so well that he presents a different kind of challenge.
What else you look for on Saturday? I mean, where are your eyes going to go?
Gosh, I just think, just the emotions of the whole thing, just the pageantry of it, just to have that all back is going to be, it's going to be hard to look for much else. I mean, I think that's going to be kind of overwhelming to a certain extent. And how long will it take before it starts to just feel like, okay, we're at a football game, we're covering a football game, this is normal? Is that going to happen the first series? Is it going to happen in the first half? Is it not going to happen the whole game? I'm just fascinated to see for myself personally, for fans. You assume for the teams once it gets kicked off, they'll be locked in. But for the rest of us, just at any point, do you just sort of start to take for granted, all right, we're at a game, this is normal? Or based on what we've all been through the last couple of years, will that glow just last the entire day?
I think it's going to last the entire day.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say.
I think it's 100%. And there's going to be a lot of things that still aren't normal, but I think it's going to last the entire day.
Right.
Hey, safe travels. Enjoy the game.
Thanks,
and go
buddy.
Liberty, huh?
Absolutely.
That's
go
right.
Sab, yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
He's Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. Practice report coming to GoDucks.com this afternoon. And, of course, he'll be giving you all the updates throughout the game. And, well, just don't yell at him too much at Duck Football on Twitter. That'd be nice, right?
Please.
Please.
It's not me. I didn't call that play. I didn't make that
How
substitution.
often do you have to say something along those lines?
I try to. I'm not, as some people know, I try to hold back, but sometimes I'm not very good at biting my tongue. And I apologize to anyone who's been on the wrong side of that. I need to be a grown-up sometimes, and I'm not.
You're a kid at heart.
Yeah. But I get caught up in the emotions of it, too.
For sure.
Like, if something's not going great and somebody's blowing me up about it on Twitter, I'm just as ticked off and frustrated about it as they are probably.
Right.
But
if not more so.
Right. I can't, I'm not going to pile on.
Right. I get it. Totally understand. All right, we're going to get a break, and then he's going to drive up to Seattle, enjoy a little basketball, and then he's going to be back at Autzen Stadium.
Yes,
Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. When we come back, going to talk a little defense, hear a bit from Tim DeRuyter, some of his big thoughts, some of the greatest hits of what he had to say this week. We got that coming next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to Toyota's National Sales Event.
Thanks. I've been waiting to get a new Toyota all year.
Well, right now we've got exciting offers on our lineup of 2021s, like Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Tacoma.
Highlander! Jan, do you mind watching Chance?
Oh, okay. Listen, Chance, I run a tight ship, so I don't want any funny business. Who's a good boy? Toyota's National Sales Event is on.
Current offers end September 7th. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota, let's go places.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, football is back! So consider this your official excuse for always putting football watching first, courtesy of Pepsi. That haircut appointment? Seeing the in-laws for the first time in ages?
It's been so long.
Nope, sorry, Susan, not if it's on Sunday. Long story short, after the year we've all had, we think you could use a little football watching. So crack open a Pepsi and cheer your football watching face off. With love, Pepsi. Made for football watching. That's what I like.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you is.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. We're going to hear from Tim DeRuyter tonight on the Oregon Football Coaches Show. You can tune in at 7 o'clock, 7:05, technically across the Oregon Sports Network. More info on where to tune in, goducks.com/OSN. You can also watch the show on the GoDucks YouTube, the Oregon Football Facebook, or the Oregon Football Twitter account as well, as Coach DeRuyter will join Jerry Jorge and myself here in the Country Financial Studio tonight. If you missed it, you can always subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast or go back and watch the show via all the services I just mentioned, probably easiest on that GoDucks YouTube channel. Earlier this week, Tim DeRuyter, the Oregon defensive coordinator, met with the media. It's brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. Tim DeRuyter talking with the media and previewing Saturday's opener.
We'll just start with what's it going to be like facing a school you have quite a history with, and just kind of emotionally what's that going to be like being on the opposite sideline this week?
Well, I know this, that being in an Autzen Stadium on this sideline is a little bit easier to call plays, except for when you're on defense. You know, our guys got to do a great job of using hand signals. Our communication's got to be on point. And so, yeah, there's some personal feelings. My wife and I, my family had a great time in Fresno, but this game's not about me. It's about these guys that are playing for us. And we have a mission, and that is to execute everything we do to the best of our ability, regardless of the opponent. And that's how the approach our guys are going to take.
Tim, I think offensively, it certainly starts with Ronnie Rivers for them. Just your thoughts on what you've seen from him, not just on Saturday, but going back. Obviously, he's got one of the most prolific careers in that program's history.
Yeah, really impressive young man. Not surprising, you know, he's a legacy of a Bulldog, and he runs, with a lot of heart. He's powerful. For a guy who's not real big, got great feet, vision, can jump cut. One of the things I think they're doing a really nice job with him, particularly this year, is getting him out in routes and finding ways to get him touches. And when he gets the ball in his hands in space, look out, he's making the first guy missed almost always. And so we've got to do a great job with pursuit, knowing where he's at, and just knowing that their offense is going to start through him.
It's pretty impressive to see a team, their quarterback throw for over 300 yards in the first half alone. Just the challenges this overall offense had, it seems like they were pretty balanced and spread it around.
Yeah, it's nothing new. I mean, that's what they did last year as well. You know, they're scoring close to 40 points a game and throwing for over 300. You've got a veteran quarterback in Hainer who was recruited at a very high level. In fact, when I was at Cal, we ended up playing against him a couple years back. Very mature in the system. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. When things break down, he does a really nice job of extending the plays and then hurting people with his feet if you don't contain him in the pocket. So he presents multiple challenges in the throw game, and then he also can extend things. So we've got to have a plan for that, and we got to be spot on in our zones in particular, because they're well coached. They're going to flood and drain you out with some things, and we've got to be able to match up.
Coach, regarding Hainer, just what kind of impresses you most about how he comports himself on the field? It seemed like he was really dialed in there on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a veteran guy that started a bunch of games, and while maybe he doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt, particularly there at Fresno, you can see that he knows the system. They've done a really nice job of teaching it to him. He plays with tremendous poise. You saw him not get flustered. He knows where to go with the ball. Really good in anticipation, and can make the throws they need him to make. So he's been impressive, going back to last year, but I think he even dialed it up a notch on Saturday.
Coach, long time no talk. I know you said that this game is not about you. Kalen DeBoer mentioned earlier today that you guys had crossed paths in 2017. What do you know about him as a person? What do you know about his coaching style and what he's done so far as the head coach of Fresno State?
Well, he's been impressive. He's a guy that came to a camp, I think, when I first met him up in Berkeley, and you could just tell when you meet him, he's got a presence about him. Very, very knowledgeable about the game. Great personality guy. And there's no surprise at all to see the success that he's had there. And I'm sure we'll continue to have. I'm always a fan of Dutch head coaches, and knowing that, he's done a nice job there. On one side of me personally, I'm happy for the Bulldogs. But obviously this week, it doesn't matter. It's just about, the Ducks this week, unfortunately.
Tim, you're going to be starting a corner who's making their first career start, regardless whether it's Dante or Quez. How much did even just this past week's film, maybe talent doesn't translate from UConn? I'm not trying to disparage them, but when you're trying to emphasize things like short tackling and Cropper and Rivers break free, or Jones in the red zone and he undresses the corner as badly as he does. Again, we know about what happened with the technique there, but to emphasize when you're making a first start, hey, these are the mistakes that can be made and how not to do them.
What's been great is there's been great competition there between Tyquez and Dante. And so they know every single day at practice, they got to be spot on or the other guy's going to get their reps. So that competition is going to continue. When you play these early games against a quote non-Power 5 team, you turn on that tape, they've got Power 5 players. And, you mentioned Cropper. He was wanted by a lot of, Power 5 teams. He chose to stay home and, he jumps out on tape, but so do the rest of the receivers. They've got a really deep group. I think 11 different receivers caught the ball the other day. It's going to be a heck of a challenge. And thankfully, we've had really good competition in our practices getting to go against the career receivers that we have. So hopefully Dante and Tyquez will both take that confidence from competing against some, pretty special guys that we have. And so they can feel they can match up.
Coach, you have a couple guys in the middle and Keon and Popo who are kind of going to be the middle of that defense that's been shored up by Jordan and Austin for so long. And Fresno State's offensive line kind of struggled a bit last year to protect the quarterback. So what are you looking for from the middle of your defensive line on Saturday?
Well, we need a rush from all of our guys, but I think, Dorlus has got a chance to be a really good player for us. He got nicked up a little in camp, but he's back. Popo certainly has got the ability to do it, but he's got to show. I like where Keon and Christian are. So we've got to have our guys able to roll in, keep them fresh, because they're going to have to, get a good push against these guys. And I think Fresno State, even though a year ago you said they gave up some pressures, this year they look more stout inside. And, certainly last week, when they couldn't get there, they got hurt down the field.
They've already played a game, and I guess just how much of an advantage is that for them, and how much of an advantage for you guys to have film on them, whereas they don't have any film on you?
Well, I think, it's an old coaching adage that teams make their most improvement between game 1 and game 2, and certainly we'll anticipate them playing even better than the level that they did last week. You get a chance to have guys who maybe hadn't played together for the first time, and the anxiety that goes into that. We'll still have a bunch of guys that hadn't played or maybe hadn't played in front of a full stadium. So, that adrenaline rush, you really can't, replicate that. Guys are just going to have to go through it, breathe, and be able to play and execute because of the process of our training. To say one's better than the other, I don't know. But there are issues both sides. Yes, we do get some confirmation of things that we anticipated because, coaches tend to go back to their schemes of what they do. But they do a lot of things that stress you. They're going to do things with motions to get your eyes away from where they should be. They're going to do things with, having 2-man, 3-man, 4-man surfaces to run game to. So you got to make sure guys fit the gaps properly. And all those things have to come because of the process of your practice. If you get too emotional and you don't go back to, your processes, it's real easy to get emotional and get your eyes in the wrong place. And that's when explosive plays happen.
Coach, where maybe have you seen this defense grow the most since you arrived in the spring? And how would you just assess that progress overall?
Well, I think physicality wise, this fall camp has been really good for us. I think when you're first learning a defense and you're maybe not sure of yourself, you tend to not play as physical. Your eyes may not be in the right place. You're not playing with the proper technique at times because you're thinking about where I should be. I think our guys are much more comfortable in our package. And so you saw a step up in our physicality particularly against the run game. And so now I'm hoping that translates to Saturday, but until we, get another opponent to look at it against, that the proof will be in the pudding then.
Coach, want to test your memory for a second here. The last time Fresno State played Oregon was 2012. You were the Bulldogs head coach. Chip Kelly was Oregon's head coach. Derek Carr was a junior. What do you remember about that game and about the environment, the atmosphere?
Well, I remember it being a very, very loud stadium. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of that noise that week, and it was difficult, to execute against Oregon. They had a heck of a team. I think they had a freshman starting against us that day named Mariota, something like that. And they had a heck of a team. We gave up some early scores, didn't play particularly well right out the start of the game. I thought we battled back, but certainly, that Oregon team was really strong and had the better of us that day. But I think it helped Derek grow up playing in that environment. And then the next week we were able to win against a Pac-12 team at home.
You're inheriting a defense that on paper has the most talent you've ever had a chance to work with. And that's not speaking ill of anybody. Again, Von Miller was obviously a terrific player. But between KT and Noah and Justin, a lot of blue chip players on this depth chart. Do you feel a degree of pressure to deliver there? And that's part one. And part two is just how you go about managing a room. Because just hearing about and managing your own staff and assistants and, even with Nick, that you could correct without being demanding without being demeaning. So just, do you feel the pressure and how do you go about managing your defensive assistants as well as the players?
Yeah, I think anywhere you go, if you want to, hold yourself to a standard, you're going to feel pressure. Regardless, you look at the talent that we have, I feel pressure every day to challenge those guys, to make sure we're getting the absolute best out of them so that, I can do a service to them. But I don't change the person who I am. I feel pressure everywhere you go to do that. As far as interpersonal workings with the staff, I always want to get input because this isn't, my defense, it's the Oregon defense. And I think we've got some excellent coaches and teachers on our staff. And I want to hear their input so that we can make the absolute best Oregon defense possible. And, it'll be a work in progress as we go along. And, right now we think we got a great plan, but we've got to be able to adjust to things. And we'll see, as the season goes along, how we tend to adapt. And, if our best guys are playing the fastest, then we're doing the right things.
Tim DeRuyter, the Oregon defensive coordinator, former Fresno State head coach, meeting with the media, brought to you by our friends at WVCI. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. 11 a.m. That's right. The early kickoff on Pac-12 Network. The Ducks taking on the Bulldogs of Fresno State. We will have a 9 o'clock pregame show across the Oregon Sports Network. Joe Moorhead sitting down with Terry Johns, the other coordinator. We got both coordinators on the programs this week. Coach's show, Tim DeRuyter. Pregame show, Joe Moorhead. Kickoff at 11 o'clock with Jerry and Georgie in the booth, and I will be roaming around on the sidelines. Coming up, let's hear from QB1, Anthony Brown, after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey cheesy crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously, but as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. You're going to hear from Anthony Brown, the Oregon starting quarterback, coming up. Going to be a lot of emotion for him making his first start in an Oregon uniform here this season. Looking forward to it after winning that starting job. One thing that we've started this year, a lot of other schools have done this, and we thought, well, this will be kind of cool. It's thanks to our friends at Dove Lewis, the Pet of the Week. That's right. This week, Diego is his name. His owner saying they adopted Diego at the ripe old age of 11, was originally from the Silicon Valley area where he was found wandering the streets, got transferred up to Oregon. His microchip said his name was Peanut, but he never once answered to it. So they decided to call him Diego. And you'll notice, those of you that are watching the show, he's already got the Oregon dog tag on him. He had one tooth when he was adopted. Despite this, he only wanted to eat dry kibble and ignored treats. How about that? He knew all the tricks but rapidly went deaf, so there wasn't any way for him to show them off. Even after he was stone deaf, he would still jump up and scream at the Pac-12 refs on TV when they would give dubious first down to the Huskies or the Beavs. I really love this submission from Diego's owners for his bio. He passed away this June, though, Diego did, from kidney disease at 15 and a half. And they added that they really would hope that one thing that we learn from this is that senior dogs need homes too, even though they aren't with us for as long and can have some health problems. They're full of love, wonderful addition to the family, and Diego certainly was. Our Pet of the Week brought to you by our friends at Dove Lewis. You can head to the Oregon Sports Properties Facebook page. Every week we're going to do a Pet of the Week brought to you by our friends at Dove Lewis. And Diego, man, that pulls the heartstrings, doesn't it? A Duck fan through and through, barking at Pac-12 refs. I got a good kick out of that. Thanks for the submission, and thanks for the Pet of the Week. Brought to you by friends at Dove Lewis. Let's hear from Anthony Brown, QB1. His thoughts heading into Saturday's opener against Fresno State.
Did you have a good sense of where you were at throughout fall camp? A lot of your teammates were always just kind of, hey, it's AB's job. He's the guy. Did you get a good feel for that? That's where you were at throughout camp?
I wasn't really trying to focus on it, more trying to focus on day-to-day reps and what I can do for my teammates and stuff. So that was really that.
Thoughts on Fresno State?
They're a really good team. Very high motor on defense. They have some very active players, and we just got to attack every day and get ready for them.
Where are you seeing the most growth of some of the younger quarterbacks behind you? I mean, it seems like they played well all fall camp.
The most growth I've seen is not making the same mistake twice, which is huge, especially at a young age. A lot of people make these mistakes, and they keep returning to them. And that's something that I've seen out of them that is really good. So.
Yeah, but you've been a starter, quite often in your career. I mean, does it just feel normal and natural to be in this position right now?
No, but we'll get used to it. So.
How much more comfortable do you feel, kind of at this point, than you were leading into Week 1 last season when everything was still kind of in pandemic craziness?
I would say I feel about the same. It wasn't really too much of a difference. Last year I was just as prepared as I am now, and yeah.
You came to Oregon, the expectation in 2020 to play in front of fans in Austin Stadium. What's that feeling going to be like this year, having that opportunity now to finally play with fans?
I think I'm excited. I've been watching Oregon since I was young, so I'm excited to get out there in front of the fans and do something well. So.
What's a successful Week 1 look like for you, goals-wise? What's a successful Week 1 look like for you?
Doing my job. That's about it.
Sounds like you've been leading a lot of one-on-one workouts, or even with multiple receivers for that matter, like 5 and 6 in the morning. When did that start?
It started back in the winter when we first got back from the bowl game.
Can you imagine that it's been 700 days? It will be 700 days.
Man, that's a long time. But it's cool to finally get back out there and be able to start again. But still got work to do. So.
Going back to many years ago, when I say Newman Springs Road.
Whew. Newman Springs Road. We're not going to talk about that.
No,
we're not going to talk about.
Heard you didn't like those too much.
It was cool.
You had two freshmen on the organizational chart that are projected to start in Troy Franklin and Maliki. Just what have those two guys done throughout fall camp to earn that spot, you feel like?
They have been very impressive. They've been playing really well. They've been on top of their game. And they've just been standing out and doing things that normal freshmen don't usually do. So I'm excited for them, and I think everybody else should be excited for them too.
How much has a full fall camp helped with just chemistry perspective with you and some of the wideouts there?
Sheesh. Man, it gives you a sense of normality. And I think the full fall camp is an advantage for everybody. And as long as you take advantage of it, you should be successful in what you do in executing those certain things that you're working on. So
good stuff from Anthony Brown. I'm really excited to see what he does. Look, in 2 games last year, scored 4 touchdowns. You average 2 touchdowns a game as a quarterback, probably going to be pretty successful, particularly with the run game that the Ducks have. We're going to hear from C.J. Verdell talking about that Oregon run game when we come back. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. More coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Time for your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Looking ahead to Oregon soccer this upcoming weekend. They're going to take on UC Santa Barbara Friday, 7 o'clock. It's at Pape Field. If you don't have a chance to make it to Pape Field, you can watch it on the Oregon live stream, and our buddies at KWVA are going to have the call on the radio side and on the live stream as well. Tonight, cross-country season begins in Lake Oswego. The Ducks in the Lewis and Clark opener get our first cross-country action of the athletic season here this evening. Oregon volleyball is on the road. The Ducks will play number 23 Rice in a top 25 matchup at 4 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be keeping track of that on all the different Oregon volleyball social medias, and against SMU at noon on Friday as well for Oregon volleyball. And, of course, wear green for Oregon against Fresno State. The Ducks with an 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. That's your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington where special diet requests, custom orders, always welcome. Menus, nutrition info, cafeyum.com. Let's finish up today hearing from a guy who I think could be a real difference maker for Oregon, and I don't think I'm really saying anything that you don't already know. CJ Verdell.
It's been like just preparing for another season, CJ. Obviously, I saw you a little banged up, but clearly you're okay. So just
man, it feels great. Good to be out here with the guys. All focus is on us right now. We're trying to prepare ourselves as best we can for Fresno State.
You'd mentioned before camp, back at Media Day, just managing your body was part of. How have you gone about that differently this year than years past?
Definitely just been taking the time to come in earlier, in the mornings, get my body warmed up, stretched out, have the trainers work on me if need be. Just trying to get nice and loose before I got there to practice.
You guys didn't have a chance to really establish an offensive identity last season, in part because of your thumb injury. What do you feel like the identity of this offense will be this season?
I think it's going to be what we've been trying to have it be, just a tough physical brand of football. That's what Coach Crisotbal has been preaching. Coach Moorhead's really helping us fine-tune all those things and all those details. I think we got a great plan coming together.
CJ, what are your thoughts on all those freshmen that are behind you guys on the depth chart?
Great, man. Nothing but great things to say about those guys. They come in ready to work every day, very intuitive, picking up the playbook nice and fast, and Coach Mash was very pleased with those guys.
What do you think? 2018, you ran behind maybe the most experienced offensive line in the country. Last year, it was the least experienced. Just what's that growth you've seen from the 2020 group to this year in camp?
Definitely a lot of growth and a lot of improvement. Those guys take their job very seriously. Coach Mirabal is always on them hard too. They come in here to work hard every day, so I can't say nothing enough about those guys.
You see marked improvement?
Oh, definitely.
Where at?
You talking about offensive line?
Yeah.
Alex Forsyth, he's definitely taking control of that whole line. Having them come in, meetings, whatever, stay after practice, do extra stuff. Definitely taking control of it. He's a real leader of it.
Does this week feel like more of a normal traditional game week compared to last year's where you had to ramp up so fast? You guys feel like you're where you want to be right now, or?
Oh, definitely feels like getting back into the groove of things. Normal game week, good Tuesday practice. Come out tomorrow and do it all over again.
That's good stuff from CJ Verdell. The Oregon running back, I think, could be a real difference maker, and I don't mean that just in the traditional sense of if you have a good run game, you're going to win a lot of football games, but also just his leadership. I think that what he brings to the table, that confidence, you hear it, and if he can stay on the field, staying healthy, that's a real key for Oregon's success this season. I think if they have a good run game, it only helps out Anthony Brown, as every quarterback in America will tell you. That does it for Duck Insider today. Coach Show tonight, 7 o'clock. You can tune in on the Oregon football social media channels and across the Oregon Sports Network. More info, goducks.com/OSN. And tomorrow, we got Pac-12 games on the tube, don't we? See you then.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light,